What if the person destined to heal your broken heart was someone the world had already thrown away? This is the story of Rachel, a billionaire single mother, and Jason, a homeless man under a bridge, two souls from different worlds whose paths collide in the most unexpected way. But what he asked in return for saving her that night will shock you and change both their lives forever. The streets of Abuja glistened after a sudden downpour, neon lights reflecting on wet tar. Rachel Rowland, 34, billionaire CEO of Lilly Group, sat in her sleek black Range Rover. The car rolled to an abrupt stop beneath the dimly lit bridge. Her driver Boma stepped out, frowning as he tried to diagnose the fault, but every attempt failed. Not far away, stretched out on the cold concrete, a man stirred. Watching the driver struggle, he rose quietly and approached. With steady hands, he adjusted a few things under the hood, and to everyone's surprise, the engine roared back to life. "Thank you," Rachel said softly from the back seat, her eyes meeting his. He gave a brief nod and turned to leave, but something about him tugged at her curiosity. She couldn't just let him disappear into the shadows. She wanted to know who he was. "Are you hungry?" she asked. His eyes, a deep brown that seemed to hold 1,000 secrets, studied her before he replied, "No more than I am cold." Her driver, Boma, shifted uncomfortably. "Madam, we should go," he urged. But Rachel didn't move. The rain clung to her expensive silk blouse, but she didn't care. "What's your name?" she asked. "Jason," he answered simply, pulling his tattered coat tighter. She noticed the faintest trace of an educated accent in his voice, something that didn't match the roughness of his situation. "Jason," she said softly, "I have a strange request, and you might think I'm insane." His lips curled in the faintest of smiles. "I've heard worse," he murmured. Inside a small cafe nearby, Jason sipped the hot tea she bought him while keeping his distance, as though wary of charity. Rachel leaned forward, her manicured fingers tapping the table. "I want you to marry me," she said bluntly. Jason almost choked on his drink. "You don't even know me," he replied, stunned. She nodded, acknowledging the absurdity. "You're right, but I need a husband, fast. For reasons I can't explain here." Jason studied her, eyes narrowing. "So, I'm supposed to be your convenient husband? What's in it for me?" he asked, voice edged with sarcasm. Rachel's lips parted to answer, but something in his expression stopped her. He wasn't joking. He genuinely wanted to know his worth. She hesitated before saying, "You'll be taken care of. Clothes, shelter, money." Jason leaned back, smirking faintly. "And in return, I suppose I play the obedient husband in front of whoever you're trying to impress?" She didn't answer, just met his gaze steadily. "No," he said finally, shaking his head. "If I marry you, I want something much bigger than money." Rachel raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. "And what exactly is that?" Jason set his tea down slowly, his fingers lingering on the cup as though warming them was more important than speaking. "I want the truth. About you. About why you're really asking me." The boldness in his voice caught her off guard. Most men she met either fawned over her wealth or shrank from her power. Jason was different. She stared at him for a moment before answering. "The truth is dangerous," she said, quietly. "The kind of truth that can ruin lives." Jason's lips twitched into a half-smile. "Perfect. I've already lost mine, so what's left to ruin?" His words hit her like a punch. She hesitated, then finally said, "I'll tell you, but only if you agree first." Jason leaned forward, locking eyes with her. "No deal. I don't sell my life without knowing the buyer's intentions." Jason's stubbornness reminded Rachel of her late husband, John, who had died mysteriously 5 years ago. The police had called it an accident, but whispers in political circles told a different story. Since then, she had raised her only daughter, Lily, alone while fending off corporate sharks who smelled weakness. Now, a certain senator had given her an ultimatum: Marry his son or watch her empire crumble under fabricated scandals. Jason watched her drift into silence, clearly piecing something together. "You're in trouble," he said flatly. "Big trouble." She didn't confirm it, but the flicker in her eyes was answer enough. "You're right," she admitted softly. "And you might be the only person who can help me, because you're invisible to the world right now." Jason let out a humorless chuckle. Invisible? More like disposable. By the time they left the cafe, the rain had stopped, but the air was thick with unspoken tension. "I need your answer," Rachel pressed as they walked to her car. Jason stuffed his hands into his pockets. "Fine," he said at last. "I'll marry you, but my condition stands: you tell me everything. And if at any point I feel you're lying, I walk away." Boma's eyes widened when Rachel opened the back door for Jason. "Madam, this man?" he asked hesitantly. "Yes, Boma," she replied, her voice leaving no room for argument. As the Range Rover rolled toward her high-rise apartment, Jason stared out the window at Abuja's glittering skyline. He couldn't decide if he was walking into a gold mine or a trap. When they arrived at Rachel's penthouse in Maitama, Jason stepped inside cautiously, the opulence almost blinding. Crystal chandeliers, Persian rugs, a grand piano in the corner. It was a world away from the underpass he'd been sleeping under. Lily, her 8-year-old daughter, peeked from behind a doorway, clutching a teddy bear. "Mummy, who's that?" she asked shyly. "This is a friend," Rachel said, glancing at Jason. Lily's curious eyes lingered on him. "Are you going to help Mummy?" Jason smiled faintly. "I'll try," he said, though he wasn't sure who he was trying to convince, her or himself. Upstairs, Rachel showed him the guest room, which looked more luxurious than most hotel suites. "Get some rest," she told him. "Tomorrow we talk." The next morning, Jason found Rachel in the kitchen, dressed in a silk robe, sipping coffee. She gestured for him to sit. "Here's the truth," she began. 5 years ago, my husband's death wasn't an accident. I believe Senator Philip orchestrated it to gain control of my company. Now he wants me to marry his son, to secure his grip on my empire." Jason frowned. "And if you refuse?" She met his gaze without flinching. "He'll destroy me, financially, socially, and maybe worse." Jason leaned back, processing the information. "So, marrying me makes you untouchable because—" She gave a thin smile. "Because you're an unknown variable. They can't control you, and they can't predict you." Jason stared at her for a long moment, his fingers drumming on the marble counter. "Wow, you want me to be your shield," he said slowly. "But I won't be some silent pawn. If I do this, I want a stake. In your company, 10% shares, and my say in major decisions." Rachel almost laughed, thinking he was joking, but his steady eyes told her otherwise. "You're asking for a seat at the table of a multi-billionaire empire, Jason. From the man who slept under a bridge last night." Jason's lips curled into a faint smile. "Exactly. I have nothing to lose and everything to prove. I'm not here to be bought. I'm here to matter." Rachel studied him, torn between irritation and a grudging respect. "Fine," she said finally. "If you survive what's coming, you'll get your 10%. She didn't mention that she had no idea if he'd last a week in her world. Within hours, Rachel had arranged for Jason to be groomed at one of Abuja's top luxury salons. As the barber trimmed away months of neglect, Jason's strong jawline and piercing eyes emerged, shocking even Rachel. Dressed in a tailored navy suit, he looked nothing like the man she'd met under the bridge. "You clean up well," she said when he stepped out of the fitting room. Jason smirked. "So do you," he replied, his tone making her pause. The staff glanced at each other, clearly not used to anyone speaking to Rachel Rowland with such casual boldness. Boma muttered under his breath as he drove them back to the penthouse. "This man will bring trouble. I can feel it." Rachel stared out the window, wondering if Boma was right. That evening, Rachel took Jason to a high-profile gala at the Hilton. It was the perfect stage to introduce her new fiancé to Abuja's elite. The moment they walked in, Conversations paused and eyes turned. Senator Phillips stood across the room, his calculating gaze sweeping over Jason like a scanner. "Who is he?" Philip asked Boma, who hesitated before answering. "Madam's fiancé." Philip's thin smile didn't reach his eyes. Interesting choice. Later, as Rachel mingled, Jason noticed Philip approach Lily, who had been sitting with her nanny. Jason moved in fast, placing a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. "Enjoying the party?" he asked Philip coolly. The senator's eyes narrowed, but he forced a smile. "Very much. You and I will talk soon." After the gala, Rachel found a note slipped under her penthouse door. In neat handwriting it read, "Your new toy won't save you. Step down from Lily Group or lose everything." Jason read it over her shoulder. "This isn't subtle," he said. "It's a declaration of war." Rachel sighed, dropping the note into the fireplace. "Welcome to my life." Jason's jaw tightened. "Then I need to know everything. Names, weaknesses, who's loyal and who isn't." Rachel studied him. "You sound like you've done this before." His eyes darkened. "Let's just say I've been in rooms where survival meant thinking 3 steps ahead." She didn't press further, but she knew there was more to Jason's past than he was telling her. The next morning, Jason wandered onto the balcony, staring at the city below. The scent of Rachel's perfume announced her presence before she spoke. "You're not telling me everything about yourself, are you?" Jason kept his eyes on the skyline. "We all have skeletons. Mine are just better hidden." Rachel leaned against the railing. "If we're going to do this, I need to trust you completely." Jason turned to face her. "Then stop looking at me like a hired bodyguard. Treat me like your husband-to-be." Her breath caught, but before she could respond, Boma appeared in the doorway. "Madam, Senator Philip is here to see you." Philip entered the penthouse like he owned it, his sharp gray suit cutting through the air. "Rachel," he said smoothly, "I hear congratulations are in order." Rachel forced a polite smile. "Philip, meet Jason." The senator's eyes lingered on Jason, measuring him. "You've upgraded from boardrooms to street corners, I see." Jason stepped forward, his voice calm but laced with steel. "Careful, sir. Some men who start on the street end up owning the whole city." Philip chuckled without humor. "Well, we LLC that." He left without another word, but the tension he carried stayed behind like a storm cloud. Later that day, Boma pulled Jason aside. "I don't like you, but Philip is worse. If you're serious about protecting Madam, you'll need information." He handed Jason a flash drive. "Everything I've gathered on Philip over the years. Don't ask how I got it." Jason took it, his respect for Boma shifting slightly. "You just made yourself useful," he said. Boma scowled. "Don't make me regret it." That night, Jason stayed up late, scrolling through files, offshore accounts, bribes, blackmail trails. It was enough to bury Philip if used correctly. The next morning, Rachel received a delivery. An elegant white box tied with a gold ribbon. Inside was a single red rose, and a photo of Lily playing in school. Scrawled on the back, "She's not safe with you." Rachel's hands trembled. "They're watching us," she whispered. Jason took the photo, his jaw clenching. "Then we changed the game. No more playing defense." Rachel looked at him, fear and hope colliding in her eyes. "What are you planning?" Jason's voice was low. "I'm going to make Philip think I'm more dangerous than he ever imagined." Jason arranged a private meeting with Philip at a secluded golf club. When the senator arrived, expecting intimidation, Jason slid a folder across the table. Copies of offshore bank transfers and evidence of illegal land grabs. Philip's face darkened. "Where did you get this?" Jason leaned back calmly. "Let's just say your enemies are generous with information. Touch Rachel or Lily again, and this goes public." Philip chuckled, masking unease. "You think you can scare me with paper?" Jason's smile was sharp. "Not just paper. Evidence. Evidence that even your friends in the Senate can't bury." Philip leaned closer, voice low. "You're bold for a man with no power." Jason's eyes locked onto his. "Power is perception. And right now, I look like a man you don't want to cross. Back at the penthouse sat anxiously. Jason, you're provoking him. Philip doesn't play games. He destroys. Jason shrugged. Good. Let him come at me. Fear makes men reckless. Rachel stopped, exasperated. You talk like someone who's lived this life before. Who are you really? Jason met her eyes, his expression unreadable. A man who lost everything once and swore never again. His voice carried a pain that silenced her. She realized there were entire chapters of his past she knew nothing about. Then don't make me lose everything too, she whispered. Days later, Rachel and Jason staged an engagement party at the Transcorp Hilton to silence rumors. Abuja's elite flooded the ballroom, eager to witness the billionaire widow's shocking choice. Jason, in a crisp tuxedo, stood tall beside her, exuding quiet authority. Smile, Rachel whispered through clenched teeth. They're all watching. Jason leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. Maybe I'm not pretending. The words rattled her more than she wanted to admit. When he kissed her hand before the crowd, the flash of cameras sealed their illusion as reality. Philip, watching from across the room, clenched his glass until it cracked. Later that night, Boma cornered. Jason, I don't trust you. You're hiding something. Jason smirked. Trust is earned, not given. Boma's eyes narrowed. If you hurt madam, I'll end you myself. Jason's face hardened. If I hurt her, I deserve it. But ask yourself this, Boma. Why does a man like me know how to play against a senator? Boma hesitated, caught off guard. Because you're not who you claim to be. Jason didn't answer, but the shadow in his gaze confirmed it. Boma walked away unsettled, realizing the man under the bridge may have been running from something far darker. One evening, Jason found Lily in the living room struggling with her homework. Need help? He asked gently. She looked up, uncertain, then nodded. As he explained her math problems patiently, she giggled. You're better than my tutor, she said. Rachel, watching from the doorway, felt her chest tighten. Later, Lily whispered to her mother, I like him, Mummy. He makes me feel safe. Rachel kissed her forehead but said nothing. Safe was not a word she associated with Jason, but for the first time in years, her daughter looked at someone that way. 2 days later, Rachel woke to chaos. News headlines screaming accusations of fraud against Lily Group. Stock prices plummeted. Investors panicked. He's pulling the strings, Rachel muttered. Jason scanned the reports calmly. Then we fight back with exposure. He opened the flash drive Boma had given him, pulling out incriminating files. Rachel's eyes widened. If we leak this, it could destroy him. Jason's tone was cold. Exactly. But we wait. Let him think he's winning. She stared at him, realizing he wasn't just reacting. He was orchestrating. That night, Jason finally told Rachel part of his past. I wasn't always homeless, he admitted. I was an investment banker. I built empires for people like Philip until I refused to play dirty. They destroyed me, took my wife, my son. They took everything I owned. His voice cracked on the last word. Rachel's hand hovered over his but didn't touch. I'm sorry, she whispered. Jason's jaw tightened. Don't pity me. Just understand, I know men like Philip because I was in their world. And I'll never bow to them again. For the first time, Rachel felt the rawness behind his steel. While driving Lily to school, their convoy was ambushed by masked gunmen. Bullets ripped through the morning air. Jason reacted instantly, pulling Lily down and shielding her with his body while shouting at Boma to drive. They sped away, shaken but alive. Rachel's hands shook when she hugged her daughter at home, sat alone on the balcony, staring at an old photograph he kept hidden in his wallet. A woman and a little boy smiling. He whispered their names under his breath, his eyes wet. Rachel didn't see, but the ghosts of his past were never far. Philip changed tactics, sending his son John, a charming playboy, to woo Rachel. John appeared at her office with flowers, smirking at Jason when he arrived to escort her home. Mother always said you deserved better than a stray dog, John sneered. Jason stepped close, his voice low. Careful. Strays bite. Rachel cut in sharply. John, you're wasting your time. I've made my choice. But as they left, she noticed Jason's clenched fists. He wasn't jealous, he was dangerous. John had just made himself a target. That night, Rachel and Jason shared a rare quiet dinner at home. Wine loosened her guard, and she found herself laughing at his dry humor. You're not the man I thought you were, she said softly. Jason raised an eyebrow. Disappointed. She shook her head. Terrified. Because I might actually need you. He leaned closer, his voice a whisper. Then stop pretending this is just an arrangement. The silence that followed was heavier than any contract. Boma, torn by loyalty, secretly met with Philip. Madam is blinded by him, Boma said. Philip smirked. Then help me unmask him. Find out who Jason really is. Boma hesitated but took the envelope of cash Philip offered. Guilt weighed on him, but suspicion was stronger. Back at the penthouse, Boma watched Jason closely, noting every secretive phone call, every sleepless night. He told himself he was protecting Rachel, but deep down he feared Jason more than Philip. Philip lured Jason to a fake business meeting, where hired thugs cornered him. But Jason fought like a man who'd been trained, disabling them with brutal efficiency. Tell Philip, Jason growled. If he wants me gone, he'll need an army. When he returned home bruised, Rachel's heart clenched. What happened? She demanded. Jason brushed it off. Just a misunderstanding. But Lily saw the blood and clung to him, whispering, Don't leave us. That plea cut deeper than any wound. Boma finally confronted Jason. I know who you are. Jason Daniels. Former top banker. Accused of embezzlement. Vanished after your family's death. Jason's eyes hardened. Accused, not guilty. They are bad people. They framed me because I wouldn't play their game. Boma shoved him. Then why hide it? Jason's voice cracked. Because admitting it means admitting I failed the people I loved. Rachel overheard the argument, her heart breaking. But instead of anger, she walked to Jason and placed a hand on his chest. You didn't fail them. You survived. That's strength. Jason looked at her, stunned. Rachel decided to fight Philip openly. At a shareholders' meeting, she introduced Jason as her fiancé and new partner in Lily Group. Gasps filled the room. Philip sneered. You're bringing a fraud into this board? Rachel stood calmly. Fraud requires evidence, which is more than I can say for your spotless record, Senator. The murmurs shifted. Shareholders exchanged glances. For the first time, Philip looked cornered. Rachel squeezed Jason's hand under the table, silently calming him. Philip, desperate, made his boldest move yet. Lily was kidnapped in school. Rachel's screams echoed through the penthouse when the call came. Step down, or you'll never see her again. Jason's face turned to stone. I'm getting her back, he vowed. Ignoring Rachel's pleas to call the police, Jason used old contacts from his mysterious past. I need eyes on Abuja's underworld, he said into a burner phone. Whoever he was before, his reach was deeper than she imagined. At midnight, Jason stormed the warehouse where Lily was held, fighting through armed guards with ruthless precision. He found Lily tied to a chair, trembling. It's okay, princess, he whispered, cutting her free. She clung to him, sobbing. I knew you'd come. When they returned home, Rachel collapsed into tears, hugging them both. You saved her. You saved us. Jason just held them, his shirt soaked with blood that wasn't all his. Jason revealed to Rachel the full truth. He had once been groomed for politics, trained by powerful families to manage fortunes. But when he refused to launder money, they destroyed his life. Jason said bitterly, I didn't end up under a bridge by accident. They put me there. Rachel's fury burned brighter than fear. We need to end Philip. Together. Jason nodded. Together. To consolidate their power and silence doubters, Rachel and Jason married in a private but lavish ceremony. Abuja buzzed with shock. The billionaire widow had chosen the mysterious stranger, and now he was her husband. As they exchanged vows, Jason whispered, This time, I won't lose my family. Rachel's eyes shimmered with tears. For the first time, she believed him. Jason leaked select files from the flash drive to the media, exposing Philip's offshore accounts. Public outrage erupted, and investigations were launched. Philip raged, but every counterattack was met with more evidence. He's dismantling me piece by piece, Philip spat to John. Jason watched the news calmly from the penthouse. This is just the beginning, he said. Rachel squeezed his hand. End it. John tried one last time to lure Rachel, cornering her at an event. You deserve better than him, he whispered. Rachel slapped him hard. I'd rather die with Jason than live with you. Humiliated, John swore revenge. Jason confronted him outside. Touch her again, and you'll regret it. John sneered. You can't protect her forever. Jason's reply was deadly quiet. Watch me. Jason discovered Boma's earlier meetings with Philip. Furious, he confronted him. You spied on me? Boma bowed his head. I thought I was protecting her. But I see now, you're the only one who truly can. Jason's fists unclenched slowly. Then prove it. Stand with us. Boma nodded, guilt etched on his face. I will, until the end. Jason and Rachel set a trap, inviting Philip to a fake negotiation. Unknown to him, the room was wired with cameras and live feeds. As Philip bragged about his influence, every word streamed to the media. When he realized it was too late, police stormed in, placing him under arrest. Jason leaned down, whispering, Checkmate. The city erupted with news. Senator Philip, disgraced, charged with corruption and conspiracy. Rachel's company stocks soared back, stronger than ever. Jason stood beside her at the press conference. No longer a shadow but a partner. You saved me, she whispered after. Jason shook his head. We saved each other. For the first time in years, she often caught him staring at her like she was the miracle, not the billionaire. Why me? She asked one night. Jason kissed her softly. Because when I had nothing, you saw me, and that saved me. Months later, Rachel announced the creation of the Jason Foundation, dedicated to helping people like those who were oppressed by the like of Senator Philip and Al Hassan to rebuild their lives. Jason gave the opening speech, his voice steady. Once I was invisible. Now I stand here because one woman believed in me. Let us believe in others too. Don't let anyone shut you down again. The crowd erupted in applause. Rachel watched proudly, from the sideline. Months later, Lily Group thrived under Jason and Rachel's joint leadership. They were a team, stronger than ever, feared and respected in Abuja's elite circles. Lily often sat on Jason's shoulders, giggling as he walked through the grand halls of the company. Daddy, faster, she squealed, and he laughed. A sound Rachel had come to cherish. One evening, as the sun set over Abuja's skyline, Rachel leaned against Jason. When I first asked you to marry me, you thought it was desperation. Now see, it was destiny. Jason kissed her forehead. Destiny brought me to the streets, Rachel, but love brought me home. And with Lily's laughter echoing in the halls, their new beginning finally began. The moral of this story lies in the power of humility, love, and second chances. Jason, a man who had lost everything, showed that true worth isn't measured by wealth, appearance, or status, but by character, resilience, and inner strength. Rachel, despite all her riches, discovered that money could buy comfort but not companionship, trust, or genuine love. Their journey reminds us that sometimes what we truly need comes from the most unexpected places. A billionaire found healing in the arms of a homeless man, and a broken man found dignity through a woman's faith in him. Love does not ask where you come from, it only asks where you're willing to go together. In the end, Jason and Rachel's story teaches us that real treasure isn't in fortune, but in finding someone who sees your soul even when the world overlooks you. Thank you for watching. Share with us in the comments what lesson you learned from this story, and let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as we would be dropping more inspiring and emotional stories.